But I didn't get to everybody's comments, so I didn't get to write everybody's down, but I have a fair amount. Um, but you guys all seem to get a lot out of the film just based on what I've read. Of course, the film was made in 1994, directed by Frank Darabont. Um, Darabont really, he's most known for this. He didn't really direct. I'll look at his IMDb page real quick. I don't think he really directed a lot else. Um, he actually wasn't the first choice to direct this. Um, he was the second choice, which is interesting. Who else would do it today and do quite as good of a job as he did? He's known for two movies. He's known for this, and he's known for The Green Mile. The Green Mile was a very similar film, also written by Stephen King. And the great horror writer Stephen King is who is responsible for this story, The Shawshank Redemption. He wrote it as a short story, and Frank Darabont has adapted two of his famous stories into that aren't really horror related into great films. So Darabont's whole career has definitely been tied in with Stephen King. I saw you unmute, Alex. Did you want to say something?
I was going to suggest that anybody who hasn't seen The Green Mile should definitely watch it. It's one of the best movies of all time. Like, it's up there with The Shawshank Redemption. Like, they're both amazing, moving movies.
I've seen that movie before. I think it's a really good movie as well.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it. Maybe in a future semester, I'll put it on my syllabus. I haven't ever taken a stab at it yet. Yeah, Darabont's known for both. And this movie has had an interesting history. When it came out at the box office, it completely bombed. This movie did not make any money at all at the box office when it came out. But because of television syndication, especially Ted Turner put this movie on TNT and TBS shortly after it came out. He saw the value in it. Ted Turner's an interesting guy, especially his effect on the movie industry.
Is that Turner?
What'd you say, Kaylee?
Is that Turner Classic Movie?
Mm-hmm. The same guy, right? Responsible.
Yeah. So if he put it on there, then that helped it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Turner founded CNN, TBS, and TNT, and Turner Classic Movies, and he especially put this movie on TBS and TNT, and the movie kind of became a cult, gained a cult following, and became a cult classic. So even though it didn't make a lot of money when it came out, it's since become a legendary film. And as you guys saw, this movie is ranked number one. It's the number one ranked movie ever made on Internet Movie Database. So we're only 3 movies into the class, but yeah, very highly esteemed movie today. It's rare that you have anybody say anything not positive about it. So I think a lot of you guys touched on the discussion boards as far as why people like this movie. We'll get to some of that. Hope is a theme in the movie, right? Some of you guys really expanded well on that on the discussion board about how you really enjoyed the movie because of its hopeful message. It's pretty dark and depressing, but there's a light at the end. So, but it's also about prison life and the injustices that are committed in prison. There's probably a lot of realism there with that. The mise-en-scène of the prison in the movie is interesting. Like it's actually a building in Ohio. They filmed this movie in Ohio. So the movie's actually, it's a Stephen King story, so it's supposed to be in Maine. But the prison that they filmed this in is actually in Ohio. It's only a couple of hours away from where we live, actually. So, yeah, we have the prison and sort of the dark, foreboding atmospheres. The prison cell, of course, becomes integral to the film. So, lots to say about it. I'm not going to pontificate forever, though. I want to get to you guys and see what some of you all thought about the Shawshank Redemption. What did you guys, especially those of you who saw it for the first time? Like, I'm really curious to know what you thought about it. So, somebody want to start us off? Who?
Yeah,
thoughts
this was the first time I watched it, and I really liked it, especially the end. I'm a really big fan of like mystery movies, so I enjoyed seeing how stuff that was said earlier in the film and stuff that was done earlier in the film like all ended up culminating in Andy's escape. So I thought that was really cool.
So how did he escape? Especially those questions. What did
Yeah,
what did
I
Go
really
ahead.
liked it.
what did you
Yeah,
what did you think about when he crawled through all that sludge, Holly?
Oh, it was horrible, but I really enjoyed like when he got out on the other side and, was in the rain. And I thought that was really kind of representative of, all that sludge kind of reminded me of like how much he'd been put through when he was in prison. It was kind of reminiscent of all the years that, horrible stuff had happened to him.
Right.
I felt terrible for Brooks.
Oh yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, and then when Red gets the same apartment he had, poor Brooks.
The scene with Brooks, that broke my heart. He was such a cute little old guy.
Yeah, he's a very fascinating character in this. Like you get so acclimated to prison life, especially when you spend 20 or 30 years in there, that when you get out, what do you do with yourself? Like this is a pretty common theme, right? That prisoners face when they get out. What do they do? How do they reintroduce themselves into society? And you guys can expand on that if you want. But Brooks definitely doesn't know what to do with himself. He's lost.
He felt like he didn't have an identity outside of jail.
I mean, when you spend 50 years of your life behind bars, I mean, there isn't much more that you can really learn when you get out. I think a lot of his problem was there was no, like now when prisoners get out, there's like counseling programs that they can go to, there's places, support groups, things like that. This man was alone, making his own decisions, living in a crappy apartment, working a crappy job, feeling like he was worthless. So they kind of just shoved him out into the world and said, whatever, you do you.
Yeah, have at it, right? Best of luck, right?
Being institutionalized is a very popular thing in real life. My dad's been in my whole life, and he calls and talks to about all the time, and like stuff like that really happens. It's just they get so used to the system. It's like how we live our real world. If we went in there, it'd be totally bizarre, different. We'd feel strange, and they feel the same way coming to the real world.
Has he ever given you an example, Josh, of maybe somebody he knows who got out or something?
Most of the time, I've never really heard him about killing themselves, but a lot of people like they just break parole and they will go back. Because when you're in maximum security level 3, you're in there for decades almost, and you just get so used to the system that you can't function in the real world. And that's like going away for 20 years and coming back like Brooks. It's not even the same world he lived in when he was younger.
Yeah, you just imagine just think to yourself, the movie's in the 1950s. Brooks has been in prison since like 1910 or something, right? So just imagine everything that happened in the world while he was in prison. So both the world wars, cars and automobiles, right? There's that scene where the automobile almost runs him over.
Red had a hard time acclimating to it too. Just like when he was working at the grocery store and he had to ask to go to the bathroom. Said he couldn't squeeze a drop without asking for permission.
Right? Yeah.
think a lot, you're right about the institutionalized, even hospitals and stuff. And a lot of people don't know anything about that. And so, just people who haven't been there, those people, other people go through and how it is for them, and just seeing the movie, you know, how hard it is, how difficult it is, what people they go. I think it shows the audience and people who haven't experienced it, you know, it can see how hard it is, and you know, instead of stigma of looking down on them all the time, it can maybe look at them differently.
Yeah, very, very well said, Kaylee. The movie gives you some empathy for these prisoners and everything that they have to go through, all the abuses that they suffer while there, especially. The movie doesn't hold anything back when it comes to showing that. Like we have Andy, or go ahead.
So what?
What was even?
My internet is horrible. It says my network bandwidth. What does that mean? I did something to Zoom and now it's not working right. I didn't hear
Yeah.
what you said. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, there's 3 little lines there showing that you have a bad connection. Like it says that your lines are red.
That's Frontier for you.
Right. Yeah, we have Sudden Leak in Beckley. It's not much better. Muhammad, was you want to say something?
I actually appreciate. I'm just listening to to the comments of my friends. I appreciate that. And what I want to start with, it's just, I think, something about like this is about Brooks. And when when he just came up and saw that life has changed and things were not the same as expected, that it took me back to an experiment that was done here in the USA. I mean, 2 parents, they lost their daughter at the age of 12. And I mean, they did even the doctors didn't, do well to save her life. They thought, because they belong to an upper class, bourgeoisie class, and they thought they can keep her in the fridge here. There is a place in which they pay, they pay a fortune. It's not easy to keep the dead people there. They keep her there waiting for the advancement of science. Maybe they find some solutions for that kind of illnesses. But after, I think, some years, they just reflect and start thinking, okay, if the science advanced in the coming 100 years, in the coming 80 years, 90 years, of course the parents will not be there and the family will not be there. And if they succeed to give another life to this girl again, that she will have problems to be adopted in the society, because life will be totally different. And that why I think I put it as an analogy between what's happened to Brooks and this story. But I'd like to have my comments also about the film as a film. And there is a saying in Morocco, we say, when you are given a brain, you are given everything, which means this guy, I mean, the protagonist of the film is a brainy, talented, gifted person. And when your brain is working like hell, the brain is the only weapon we can, I mean, we are given to protect ourselves wherever we are. So I mean, you can use this. Okay, this can be true as I mean, as a true weapon for you to protect yourself if you know how to feed your brain, if you know how to train it, if you know how to develop it, and if you know how to use it. A lot of people have brains, of course, this is common, but this is the difference, I mean, between people. Some people don't know how to use it. This is if you don't know how to use it and how to feed it, be sure that you are going to be exploited, used as as Andy used, I mean, not Andy, a lot of prisoners in this prison were used by the director and a lot of people there, corrupt people. I want to talk because you mentioned the theme of the film. I mean, here it's not just a prison as a prison. I don't see it as a building. I see here prison as I mean, it reflects something we are as a human being imprisoned. We put ourselves in some situations. We went through different situations. Sometimes we feel imprisoned by the life event. And we had this experience at one time or another time, such kind of feeling of imprisonment. We experience it through in some point in our life. And there we stop and we say, it's okay, we're done, we're finished. There is no hope. We feel hopelessness, okay, it's hopeless. So we have nothing to do. We give up in many different situations. But what I'd like to say as something I learned from the film, I mean, after every difficult situation or every hardship, there is a light, there is a hope. And as we say, whenever there is a well, or when there is a well, there is a way. And when there is a well, when there is a hope, there is a life. So never, ever, as a human being, to benefit, I mean, to learn from this, give up, never I mean, especially something I'd like to talk about, not now. I will talk about this later on. When we start talking about the film, I will talk to you about the optimism and pessimism, pessimist people, and this kind of, I mean, people. Because in our life, we all have such kind of people in our way. Whenever we want to get somewhere, we find some people that try to color your life in black. Everything is hopeless, everything is sad, nothing is good, you are going to fail. And believe me, this is a virus. And it's a contagious virus. If you are surrounded by people that are pessimistic, one, be sure that you will never get where you want to get. This is just general idea about, because I'm talking about Andy and Red. Red had a certain view at the beginning about hope. Hope is something that is dangerous. And the other one said, no, hope is something that's the best thing we have. And okay, this is why I'd like to talk about this, I mean, in this session. Thank you.
Yeah, you gave us a lot of things to think about there, Mohammed. Like, I like what you said about prison, right? Prison in this case isn't just a literal building, it has to be for the purposes of the plot, right? But it means much more than that, like the prison that we have within our own minds.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Some of you guys who took me last semester who read Paradise Lost, right? Remember the devil's line, the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Right. So
I loved that book. Well, that
right.
series of books. I loved it.
Well, it's a good passage too. I know, unfortunately, my discussion post late, but I'm gonna jump in and add while we're here. like that, like he said, your brain, and it can be a weapon, or it could be you, or it could be used for the greater good. It when you have time like that, that's why a lot of people find God and they have all this, but a lot of people will tap into their and either dwell and be depressed, or they'll try to find a way out, build your relationships and try to start their life back over. But I think that another main thing that the movie, how important relationships are, how vital, people need one another, and it's like that. Look, get you your cigarettes, you can get you your, you want him on your side, and guy, and then, just because they're there doesn't mean that qualities, and some of them may still have bad qualities, but you get to tap into your brain, you get to think, and those relationships in there, will change around. Some people change their whole lives around, and I think I'm one of those people that thinks it's for a reason, that you are where you're supposed to be, and God has a plan. But I think that Morgan Freeman, something about his voice is just so enticing. You could be talking about Barbie dolls, and I'm like, So I think that was a good choice. I think Clint Eastwood would have made it a little, I don't know, not so good in my opinion. I don't think I can't see it. I can't. But yeah, just the relationship, everybody, and using your brain, and seeing the good and trying where you can.
I agree with you that Clint Eastwood would not have made Red what he is, because I think Clint Eastwood would be too hard for the part. Because Red is hard, but he also has this soft spot for Andy. And I feel like with that, we wouldn't have got that bond like we did with Morgan Freeman with Clint Eastwood or somebody else. Morgan Freeman is a phenomenal actor in the way that he showed Red in a way that, like, this is a hardened criminal, but also he's a good person. I don't think Clint Eastwood would have been able to do that.
And you got to think, for the time that the movie was made, I think he's also making a statement in a black and a white, especially in jail, because I don't know, shows or whatever, but they've got their clicks, that this one stays here, this one stays. That in itself is a point that he's trying to make too.
Another thing I'll say about Morgan Freeman in this role is that I think it was a really good choice because they had Red narrate the film, that they picked someone with like such an iconic voice as Morgan Freeman. I really don't think anyone has a better voice than him. Like, it's amazing. So I think that was a really good choice.
The character in the Stephen King story was Irish, so they had that little line at the beginning, like Andy asks him, like, well, "Why are you called Red?" He's like, "I must be Irish." Right? It was a little joke. But yeah, like I completely agree with you all. I couldn't imagine any other actor playing this part. He's an icon.
I want to add something to what I was saying about, it's just the same. If you are surrounded by pessimistic people, you'll be pessimist. If you are surrounded by optimistic, you'll be optimist. Take an example from the film. Before the arrival of Andy to the film, of course, Red was living with other prisoners. All their life was about watching the film. It was my third time to watch the same film, which means that people were there as prisoners, were not doing anything, were just used, and they were given something that is, I can tell you, it's accessory. It's not important for their life. It's just to, I mean, I can go to say it's a kind of entertainment, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not entertainment. It's for other purposes. But when we see, Red, before the arrival of Andy, there was a kind of gambling, there was different activities that are not useful for them for life skills. But when Andy arrived, this is it. They became friends. And when he was surrounded by a good friend, he was, teaching them, was helping them, he was planning, I know, because he was asking for his help. So it's a kind of enlightening people there. So he was teaching, he was making them aware of a lot of things. That's why he was impacted. Red was impacted, influenced by that. By Andy, and that's what I say. It's, if we put it as an analogy in our life, this is our life. It's the same. If we are just surrounded and attached to those kind of people who are, intellectual people, they are, powerful people in terms of being optimistic, positive, your life will be good life. If not, you see what will happen there. And I would like to talk about that actress and the pictures in the cell of Andy. It's in our life nowadays in the prison. If you have a look at, the prison cells, you can find a lot of people putting pictures there of their lover, of their, favorite people there, because even the directors and those, the police or the guards in the prison, they want them to be distracted with those things. Can you imagine? That's why I say this is a talented person and brainy one. He knew what's happening, what was happening in the prison, and he has this idea in his mind. And when he came there, he asks about the most important thing. Okay, rock hammer, pictures, picture to cover. It's there. When you come there for the inspection, it's just a picture. I'm just watching. It's just a picture, but it was not just a picture. It was for other purposes. And that's why we say, if we want to link it to what we have now, we say an escape, big escape. To escape in your life from the situations, to escape from the prison, to escape from difficulties, you need very, very careful planning. And that's what Dandy did. Yeah. Thank you.
My mom used to say you can't fly with eagles when you're surrounded by buzzards.
She gonna say something? Sorry.
When he first got that rock hammer in that poster, I don't think he was trying to break out with it, because it shows a flashback when he was just trying to carve his name. He really, I think, wanted the rock hammer to make the chess pieces with and stuff. I think he really just kind of lucked out with that rock hammer carving his name in there, and he figured out the wall was soft. But one thing about his character that I liked a lot, like you see Red and Brooks, they kind of changed, and like the prison took a toll on him. But through, like, when you first see him, Red liked him because he said the way he walked, it looked like nothing could bother him. And he was a businessman on the outside of prison, and he brought that to prison with him. He was doing tax returns for the people. He was getting anything he wanted. He was cheating them little raffles, getting his friends put in there. I think he figured out how to work the system, and that's something you don't hardly ever see in a prison setting like that, which made it pretty cool.
Yeah, he does a lot to promote literacy within the prison. Like he tries to set up his library, and that creates a lot of positive thinking, like what Muhammad was saying, right? But also not just reading literacy, like you said, Isaac, financial literacy. And tries to make these prisoners aware of that, and civic literacy, like the reason why they're able to even get the libraries because they appeal to their congressman. So, and he definitely doesn't
I'm sure
even mute.
that they might. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say real before you, Kaylee, even music literacy. One of the most beautiful scenes of the whole movie is when he locks himself into the room and they're playing the music over the radio, and that just gives them hope. Like that helps promote that hope because they've never heard anything like that. So Andy helps them discover their inner humanity. right? And the prison system is something that's meant to, it's not really meant to enhance your humanity, right? It's meant to belittle you. So,
One of the favorite things, like favorite quotes throughout the movies, when he said that he had to go to prison to become a crook. That was one of my favorite lines.
what was you going to say a second ago, Kaylee?
Well, first of all, this is one I love this movie. But if we're looking at it from every which way we can, so does it sometimes sometimes people excel in an institution like that, and they're good hustlers. They'll excel in a place like that, and they can be on top there, and then in society, maybe they can't excel as well in society. And so it's I noticed that. And then you have Andy and they stay and they want to stay on Red stays, he wants to stay on top, he wants to be that, but to get back out. He's trying to get back out. And but he figures it out and finds a way. And it's like, I guess I'm going back to the same thing I said earlier. Everybody plays a part in everybody else's life and helps them along their journey. I wonder though, did people not like it because of the message he was escaping, you think? Do you remember what the critics said was a no-go at first?
Critics
Like
have critics have always loved the movie. It just didn't make money at the box office for whatever reason. And whenever we talk about movies, there's always the tension between commercial versus art value. Like, can you have an artistic movie that's also commercially feasible? Right, this is often a tension that we see within the movie industry. It's like today, you go to the cinema and there's mostly like superhero films there, right? Then when you go, then there's also whole cinemas called art house cinemas that are just for like artsy fartsy movies. So it's always this hard struggle, like the commercial value of film, how much money can the film make versus its artistic value. Shawshank tried to do both, but for some reason it just didn't pan out when it came out. I'll tell you why. This movie came out right at the same time as Forrest Gump, which is a classic, another classic film, right? It's a great film too. But Forrest Gump took over the box office at the time, and it just had really bad timing when it came out. That's why it didn't make a lot of money. Yeah, 1994 was a good year for film. It didn't win any Oscars either. Like we talk about Oscars and Academy Awards, this movie didn't win any. It's now called the best movie of all time. The movie didn't even win any Oscars the year it came out, which is insane to think about.
That's weird because it seems like nowadays movies come one right after another, and it doesn't matter, they'd still be good movies. You think they'd still be recognized?
Right? Yeah, the very, very bad timing. I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look this up real quick since we're on this subject.
I put on that question that that's exactly the reason that their movies is because there's so many of them that are the same.
So here was the nominees that year for Best Actor in a Leading Role: Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump, Morgan Freeman, Shawshank Redemption. It's interesting they nominated him instead of that. Andy, because Andy's the main character, right? She also had John Travolta for Pulp Fiction, Paul Newman, Nobody's Fool, Nigel Hawthorne, The Madness of King George. So Tom Hanks beat Morgan Freeman. The Tim Robbins, who played Andy, wasn't even nominated for an award, which is kind of which is insane.
They could have at least put them both on there, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
that had to make him feel horrible.
cinematography, it was nominated, but it didn't win. Directing, Frank Darabont wasn't even nominated for Best Director. Yeah, this movie got seriously snubbed during award season the year it came out. Just goes to show you that those award shows are a bunch of bogus or a bunch of BS, right? Like I don't even watch them because I think they're ashamed.
Now, but the Green Mile won, didn't the Green Mile win awards?
It
Can you say
did.
he did? Yeah, that was a really good movie.
It's, at least Frank Darabont got his just due with the Green Mile. Yeah, Best Picture, Forrest Gump won. Pulp Fiction and Shawshank were both nominated along with it. So one thing that I want to do, we've had a great discussion so far. One thing that I want to do is want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the scene where Andy escapes. This is a masterclass of film directing. Like we've mostly so far today, we've mostly discussed the plot and the characters. We could spend 3 hours talking about that just by itself with this movie so rich. But I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the escape scene and especially the iconic scene in the rain. Okay. So one of the all-time great cinema moments. So let me pull this up. We will watch it. It's actually, this will actually be like 7 minutes because I'm going to show you the whole clip. I'm going to pause the recording while I do it because YouTube gives me fits if I put copyrighted material and videos. So I'm going to pause it to start the recording again. But I don't know. What did you guys think of that scene, especially the baptism? I call it the baptism scene, right? When he comes out, right?
I love that scene. It's one of my favorites. But what always has bothered me about this movie, how the hell did he get the poster back? Like, you know that there'd be wind like flapping that poster the whole time because there's a big tunnel. Tunnels usually have air.
Right.
How did he get the poster back so perfectly?
Well, it kind of looks like it's taped up there. I thought the same thing. But like, if you took some tape and rolled it over where you could stick it on both sides, if he just put a little piece of tape like that in the middle of it or toward the bottom, he could take it and pull back on it and stick right to the wall.
Yeah, this might be the case where we forego some realism. Right.
Toothpaste.
Also, in the scene where he is crawling down to where the nasty sludge stuff is, if you look at his shoes, they're the brown shoes that he took off and put in the box that was the warden's. So how do you get those back?
I think it's that we go through, right? I mean, really. I love that it waited till the storm and it was all set up like it was. That was like that. And it just makes you think all the crap that you go through then it literally shows him going through it. But that's what makes at the end so matter what it is, in that situation or anything else, is the rebirth or is it all worth it?
Yeah, you asked some good questions a second ago. There's a channel on YouTube called Cinema Sins. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Cinema Sins.
Cinema Sins is amazing.
Yeah.
I love those videos.
Yeah, it picks on all these inconsistencies in movies, like you're pointing out, Alex.
I figured you'd have the comeback. What about that light? Yeah, don't they win for that as well? Like it's not just the actors and stuff. The filmmakers can stuff like that. Like the shot that you said was famous and yeah.
Yeah, how this movie did not win an Oscar for directing is beyond me. Like I like Forrest Gump. The directing in this is a step above. I don't know. What are the rest of you got? Especially those of you who saw the film for the first time. What did you make of that scene when you saw it? Did it grab you? Did it shock you?
It was my first time watching the film, and I thought that scene was amazing because the way I took it, it like represented like his freedom. Like he broke out and he's like necessarily free, I guess.
Right, free in many ways. Free literally, right, but also free with the prison of his own mind, even, right?
Yeah.
So,
And like the rain was like washing everything away.
yeah, if they would have done this movie without the rain, right? If they would have filmed this on any other night, right? That wasn't the rain, right? Would this hold up?
No.
No. Well, we've got a few minutes left. I want to also discuss the Warden's character. We haven't discussed him. One of the great all-time villains of cinema, the Warden in this movie. The way, so here's a guy who acts righteous all the time, right? He's like he gives the prisoners a Bible, right? Because he wants the prisoners to. He says you can never take the Lord's name in this prison, but he allows all these injustices to happen to the prisoners willingly. He has this guy murdered, right? Who holds the secret to get Andy out of prison. He has him murdered because he doesn't want Andy out of prison because he wants Andy to keep helping him with his schemes. So one of the all-time smarmy villains of cinema. So what was your guys' thoughts and feelings on his character?
Evil.
Well,
I think his ending was too good for him.
He was definitely a bad dude, but at the same time, whoever played him, I'm not sure what his name was. He played that part very well. I kind of liked his character. I couldn't. The movie wouldn't be the same without him.
He's a good actor. It kind of put me in the mind of what was that class? Wasn't it the Chaucer's Tale or whatever? Was that had the trench coat and that tricked them all?
Right.
It was kind of same mentality.
Talking about Are you talking about the Partner's Tale?
Yeah, the Partner's Tale.
Right.
Someone else already said that, his ending was too good for him, and I agree with that. But I also think that that just shows how cowardly of a character he is. Like, not just him, but also, even though he had a much worse ending for him, which was very deserved, Captain Hadley, it just shows, he and, Norton are the two main antagonists. The Captain Hadley's reaction to being arrested, Red saying that he cried like a little girl, like he said, and Norton shooting himself, it just shows that, how cowardly these two villains are.
I totally agree with you. I'd like to go to, with this view, because at the beginning, if you still remember, the first words of the warden were, when he was asked about the time to eat, we said, you're gonna eat when we say, when you say you eat, we're gonna pee when we say pee, which means that the basic needs, the biological needs that for a human being, which is, it's not, it's their basic rights, they were deprived from them. But it shows you, at the beginning, that this man is severe, is strict, and so it's another personality. But the end shows you that he was a very quiet person, because that action is not, when you opt for that action, it means that you are a quiet person. It's not the same character we saw from the very beginning. I agree with you.
Did any of you get the guard? Did you got Captain Hadley? Did you guys recognize that actor? You might recognize his voice.
Clancy Brown.
Right. What's he famous for, Josh?
He was famous for Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob, but he's also famous for Uka Uka and Neo Cortex in the Crash Bandicoot games.
Right. Mr. Krabs is the villain here, right?
Yeah.
Excellent job. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing that part but him. Same for him. Yeah, I always enjoy his work whenever I see he just passed. I think he just passed? Let me double check. No, I was wrong. The actor who plays the warden, his name is Bob Gunton. He plays a lot of villain characters in films. He's kind of, I think this movie might have typecast him a little. So all these parts, right? It took all these parts to make this movie what it was. And it took characters as evil, right, to kind of show you that there's light at the end. So it'll be hard to top this one in future weeks, but we will try our best. Okay. So next week we will finish our drama unit, and we will do the Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams next Monday. And next Wednesday we will cover the World War I film 1917, which is very recent. That movie just came out a couple of years ago. After that, we will think about like writing the first paper. We'll have a day about writing the first paper before we move into our next unit, which is film noir. So exciting things ahead with this. Dead Poets Society. Have you guys seen Dead Poets Society before? Have you guys know this film?
I have never watched it.
Haley Davis has seen it.
I'm not sure whether or not I love Robin Williams, and I haven't looked yet to see if I.
Oh, I love Robin Williams too. That's cool that he plays in that one. I just Googled it and it is on Prime Video and Vudu and Redbox.
Voodoo. I kept trying to remember. I was like, that girl said it was on the V. I asked my son, no. But that's what it Voodoo. Is it like VUDU or VOODO?
VUDU.
Okay, I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's hold on.
Show a clip.
Yeah, I'm trying to Google it to see what all it's on. Looks like we've had bad luck so far with these things being on streaming services.
And I'm usually a Prime member, but I think my Amazon Prime is up. I saw an email. So, and there's something called F movies, but it's one of those.
I usually rent movies on Microsoft Store. That's usually where I rent.
They got a thing called 123 Movies or something. They had it back when I was in high school. And there's a bunch of free movies on it, but you need virus protection if you get on it. I wouldn't go on it at all if you ain't got virus protection. If it's a nice computer you're on, I probably wouldn't go on it at all.
Well, if you all have a smart TV, Roku, then you can just tap the voice button and put in just say the name of the movie, and it'll pop up everywhere that plays it. That's what I do. And sometimes, like not the Shawshank, but the 2 movies before that was on like really old classic apps that I got to watch for free.
So Citizen Kane and the Grapes, you saw one of those?
Yeah, both of them were for free on them classic apps.
I'm seeing something that might be on Disney Plus. I'm checking.
If you go to Google and search up the Dead Poet Society, like free, the first like video that popped up, like if you just do normal search instead of like videos, it will pop up like Dead Poet Society 1989, and then underneath it will have videos. And the very first one that you click on, it should have like a bunch of colored stripes. It will take you to a site like Vimeo, or it's Vimeo, and it lets you watch it for free if you don't want to like pay for it.
Yeah, I currently don't remember my Disney Plus password. Oops. So yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it. It's a movie about young students, and Robin Williams is a teacher. It's definitely a teacher movie. So
Is it like a bad part of a bad or a rowdy school? I'm gonna have to look it up.
it's like a prestigious high school for rich kids. That's pretty much what the setting is. But very good film. It's my first time teaching, and I wanted to take a stab at it this semester, so it'll be interesting to discuss.
What's that movie with Robin Williams in it where he's a doctor?
Patch Adams.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. So Dead Poet Society is one. Robin was pretty much known for his comedy chops, but Dead Poet Society helped put him in the drama category too. So yeah, it'll be a good one to discuss. I might be a day or two before I put discussion questions up because I need to watch it again. It's been so long since I've watched it. But as soon as I watch it again, I will put those questions up for you. And if you haven't done your Shawshank questions yet, maybe I'll leave it up by the end of the day. Always try to get your discussions in right before class. In case you have a day that you don't, you can maybe follow up after class, maybe something we didn't get to discuss while in class. So if you haven't done your discussion yet, I'll leave it up to the end of the day. And you could do a follow-up from after class. It's something we didn't get to do. Okay.
I do apologize for that because it was like 3:37 or something.
That's all right.
Well, I had a chance to read it before, you know.
I didn't even have to rely on my notes to call on people today. So that was good.
I didn't get to do my discussion post either. A follow-up, do you mean do the same questions that's posted on there or talk about something else?
You can talk about something else, maybe something you found interesting that we didn't talk about today.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably be the most beneficial thing. So if you guys, I'll let you guys go imminently here, but if you guys look at your grade books, it'll say all your grades so far are dropped just because you have 2 drops programmed into the grade book. So as soon as more than 2 grades go in, you'll start seeing your grades, and it'll auto adjust whatever's the lowest number at any point, it'll drop it. Okay, so
So
yeah.
can we have the like I know I messed up last week, watched that movie and I couldn't find it for free, and she said it's on that one thing, but if you're gonna drop 2, so are we gonna be able to maybe have the chance to do it and have extra credit?
Uh,
because I know it's more work for you.
we'll revisit that question later,
Okay.
Kaylee. Okay, I doubt you'll need it, but if you do later, we'll revisit that question later.
Okay.
Yeah, but you get your 2 drops for that reason, and give you a break in case something happens. So, well, guys, wonderful class today. So I hope you all have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye, Mohammed.
Thank you. Enjoy your time. See you next
See you.
time. Bye bye.
See you later.
Bye.